I wanted to cover some plants today that have piqued my interest for one reason or another, starting with a kind of orchid. Now, I'm not an orchid guy. I know some people, especially during the pandemic, went down the orchid rabbit hole, and while I've always thought they were pretty, I've never really been down that hole. However, this plant I think might be my gateway drug into orchids. The more I looked into this one, the more I found other cool orchids that are just completely different from what I picture when I think of one. The taxonomic name for this orchid truly looks like somebody fell asleep on the keyboard, though. Bulbophyllum benedictii is my best try, but there is very much a J in there where it shouldn't be. It's truly just a bad name. To make up for it, though, I'm going to cover some names that I like today, but later. This orchid, I think you will agree, is just so cool, and I'm often at a loss for describing some forms I've seen in the plant world, and this is a good example. Unlike many other orchids, this one is mostly epiphytic. Pollination of this orchid is a delicate dance orchestrated by nature. Its flowers emit a complex fragrance that mimics rotting organic matter, attracting specific insect pollinators such as fruit flies and beetles. It doesn't use them for nutrients like a Venus flytrap, but it traps the insects that carry pollen to ensure better pollination chances. This orchid faces threats in the wild due to habitat destruction and illegal collection. Conservation efforts are crucial to ensure the survival of this orchid and many others that call the rainforest home. This plant really reminds me of the beauty and complexity of nature's designs. Very similar to another plant that I covered, the sand food, or Phyllos masonerae, jackal food and sand food share cool names and cool underground habits, but they aren't related. This is just convergent evolution. The jackal food flower doesn't look like a cool mushroom like the sand food that I covered, but quite similar to the eggs from the Alien movies, and they smell like poop. I can't imagine seeing this in habitat. It seems like every plant in Africa is in a mad dash to look like a rock. And this flower, like many others I've covered, smells bad, but this one specifically like poop to attract pollinators, which reminds me of the fungus equivalent to this plant, the stinkhorn fungus, which also will haunt my nightmares, and it unfurls its poppy stinkhorns in a very similar fashion to the jackal food flower. I'm only into plants today because of a few plant-related content creators that I love that I should mention. I love listening to long-form content of people talking about plants. Crime Pays but Botany Doesn't is a YouTube channel that has shown me more cool plants than any other. I find myself watching this channel a lot. The host of the channel, Joey, visits two greenhouses that inspired me a lot. One being the greenhouse of Russell Wagner, who specializes in South African succulents, and the other, the greenhouse of Madame Cacti, who specializes in growing astrophytum. And you'll notice that my bias towards desert plants is big, but he also visits a greenhouse of a man named Tom Croat, who has described several aroid species, which are not desert plants and have exploded in popularity during my lifetime. He talks about all sorts of things for around 2 hours, and it's a fascinating conversation. To me, it seemed symbolically like a meeting of the old world and the new world in botany, because Tom Croat is very old, and while Joey's in his 40s, it's still a very interesting passing of the torch, sort of. And I think that's beautiful. Even though I'm not into aroids, I think everybody has their own gateway into the plant world, and I've seen some very cool ones. Some very cool aroids. I also really like a channel called Cookies Cacti. She grows cactus from seed under LED lights like me and documents her journey on YouTube, which has been really informative for me starting out. She also visits cacti and succulent shows and sales, which I like. I like watching that sort of thing. The YouTube channel Cactus Quest is also a favorite of mine, and the host Hunter, I like the kinds of greenhouses he visits and the people he talks to, the conversations that he has with growers of desert plants and pottery makers. Another channel I'd recommend is East Coast Kamanchaka. Like Cactus Quest, this channel will visit cacti and succulents and habitat. But he specializes more in like finding unique specimens in remote places. And the last plant today is another parasitic plant. One that I find to be really cool looking. The Cuscuta, commonly known as dodder or a marble, is a genus actually of 201 species of yellow, orange, or red parasitic plants. Formerly treated as the only genus in the family Cuscutaceae, it is now accepted as belonging in the morning glory family Convolvulaceae. This is on the basis of the work of the Angiosperm phylogeny group. Unlike some parasitic plants I've mentioned, these ones' methods for parasitism are more bizarre. Upon germination, daughter seeds send out searching tendrils that seek out potential hosts. And once in contact with these hosts, the daughter twines around it and inserts specialized structures called haustoria into the vascular system. Haustoria act like tiny root-like structures that penetrate the host plant's stem, extracting water, nutrients, and carbohydrates directly from the host tissues. This parasitic relationship allows daughters to bypass the need for photosynthesis, so they don't gotta be green, and they're known for their rapid growth and agility. These plants can quickly blanket over host plants, forming dust clusters that can smother the host plant over time, and it can weaken the plant. With over 200 species worldwide, daughter plants exhibit a remarkable diversity in size, color, and preferred hosts. Some species are really picky and specific in the kinds of host plants that they need, and others are more generalists, adapting to a wide range of hosts. I just got off work, and I had this box in the mail, and I know what it is. It is a Myrtillocactus geometrosans. And the reason I got this cactus is because I saw this video where Joey from Crime Pays, he went to the collection of Madame Cacti on Instagram, and she just swears by Myrtillocactus as a rootstock for her astrophytum. And so I wanted to get one to try to graft onto in the future. Here's this little guy. Oh my goodness. That's so cool. He looks very blue. It doesn't really do it justice in the camera, but he looks healthy. And there's something else in here which I did not expect. Maybe they gave me a little freebie. That might have been the extra one, and this is the real thing. Oh yeah, this baby's a lot bigger. Well, that's cool. That's nice of them. They gave me a free one. Oh, and this one has some roots still on it. That is real cool. So I read recently that in order for like a graft success to be more realistic, both the rootstock and the scion need to be actively growing. And I think that might have been a mistake that I've made in some of my previous attempts. So I'm going to pop this guy up, and I'll be right back. You can see this is the big one right there. I'm hoping she does well. I don't, as you can see, I don't really have many columnar cactus in here. They're mostly globular. That's a euphorbia back there, Trigona rubra. And I mean, I guess you could make a case for this one right here being a columnar. I don't really know what it is, but... And there's the baby, the freebie that they threw in. I dedicated the dinosaur pot to him, which I think is pretty cool.
I'm gonna wait for this to put out roots before I do any watering, really. But this one's already got roots, so I could probably water this in I'd say like a week. Um, and it's cool looking, you know. I'm gonna use it for grafting, but it's a cool cactus.
So I mentioned earlier that I would give you some plant names that I like, and you know, I came up with a list of some pretty outlandish taxonomic names for plants, and I'd like to share them with you today. Um, the first one is a more tame, I would say. Dendrobium bigabum, superbum. Uh, this plant has a name that's just magnificent to me. I really like it. And the next ones are a little bit more foul. And this next one I came across actually before ever doing research for this video because it's just a plant that I really want. It's a cactus called Turbinicarpus schmeidichianus, and that has just got to be one of the funniest names. And it was formerly known as Turbinicarpus clinkerianus, which both names, you know, you had two chances to get it right. This next one is also a cactus that I really want, and it's an Areocarpus, Areocarpus cochabayanus. And you know, whenever I hear that name, I'm like, you know, don't catch anybody by the anus. Also, this next one is probably the funniest anus one, Rubus cockburnianus. And you know, that's the last one that is anus related, but there was a lot more anuses, and this is a short list. Believe me, I've heard a lot more plant names that end in anus, and there's a lot of them. This next one is Pinus rigida, which pinus. Okay, I'm gonna clarify. It's a pine, y'all. Pinus, but still. And who could forget Ranunculus testiculatus? You know, I'm just gonna let that one hang. There's two honorable mentions in this list that are not plants, but I'd like to mention their names. One is a lichen known as Japewelia dollypartoniana, which shout out to Dolly Parton. It got one of my favorite lichens of all time. And there's a fungus that I came across while researching this named Spongiforma squarpantii, which, as a SpongeBob fan, I have to mention. And yeah, this has been my list. Feel free to comment more taxonomic names that that you think might ring true to this standard. And have a good day, y'all.